Light in the Darkness, Clara's Story. Loss of Parents. In the quiet suburb of Manchester, in a house surrounded by greenery, lived a small family, John and Alice Brown. Their daughter, Klara, was the meaning of their lives. Every day they rejoiced in her happiness and cared for her well-being, but fate brought them incredible pain and loss. One sunny day, when Klara was just 7 years old, their world collapsed. Their car was involved in a terrible accident. After this tragedy, Klara became an orphan. Before her stood a new, completely unfamiliar world, the world of the orphanage. It was something completely incomprehensible and frightening for her. Instead of the warmth of a parental home and parental care, she was surrounded by unfamiliar faces and strict rules. Every night, she remembered her parents, feeling pain and emptiness inside herself. But in her eyes, there was always a glimmer of hope that one day she would be able to find a family again and the warmth of a home. Every morning for Klara began with awakening in the cramped bed in the orphanage. She slowly woke up, gazing at the ceiling, which seemed incredibly high to her. There was silence around her. Only the faint rustling of awakening children could be heard from other rooms. Getting out of bed, Klara slowly walked around her room. Her gaze lingered on the photograph she always kept next to the bed. In the photo were the smiling faces of her parents, John and Alice Brown. Clara's heart squeezed with sorrow at the thought that they would never come back. Dressing, she carefully folded her clothes, trying to make everything as neat as possible. Then she headed to the common dining hall for breakfast, where other children were already waiting for her. Time in the orphanage passed slowly, but together with other children, it was easier for her to endure loneliness and longing. And so every day, step by step, Klara adapted to her new life, striving to maintain hope that one day fate would smile upon her, and she would find her place under the sun. A new beginning. After completing her studies at college, Klara began her first job at the hospital. It was a new beginning for her, a step into the unknown, but also a chance to start life anew. The first days of work were not easy. Klara diligently learned the new duties of a nurse, absorbed knowledge, honed skills. She worked hard, trying to be helpful and assist patients as best she could. Despite the hard work and fatigue, Klara felt that she had found her calling. Caring for the sick brought her satisfaction, and every day she came to work with new strength and a desire to help others. The hospital became her second home, and her colleagues became her second family. In their support and friendship, Klara found solace and strength to overcome difficulties. She believed that even after losing her parents and facing the trials of fate, life could be filled with meaning and joy if you were willing to give yourself a chance for a new beginning. Every new day in the hospital brought Klara both new challenges and joys. She was absorbed in her work, striving to help every patient as if it were her calling. However, beyond the hospital walls, she still faced her own inner battles. After a hard day's work, returning to the empty dorm room reminded her of her loneliness. She realized that despite external success and independence, inside her there was emptiness and coldness. In these moments, she felt genuine longing and sorrow, remembering her parents and her past life. Every evening, immersed in thoughts and memories, she pondered the future and whether she could ever find true happiness. Striving to find answers, she sought solace in work and in prayers, hoping for the best. Klara, engrossed in her work as a nurse, unexpectedly met a young patient named David at the hospital. His serious condition stirred strong emotions in her, which she hadn't felt in a long time. In the process of their interaction, she learned that David had been in an accident, left without parents, just like she had been once. This unexpected encounter awakened long-forgotten feelings in her. In their conversations, tender moments slipped through, and Klara began to realize that David was more than just a patient to her. However, new doubts and fears arose in her heart. Distrust in herself, her feelings, and the possibility of loving and being loved again complicated their relationship. She recalled her childhood in the orphanage, where she was deprived of parental care and warmth. Memories of losing her parents evoked pain and bitterness in her. She was afraid to open her heart, fearing to lose again someone who could have become a family to her. After this moment, Klara felt an internal struggle and conflict of her feelings. She understood that meeting David stirred strong emotions in her that she hadn't felt for a long time. At the same time, she was afraid to open up to him completely because of her own fears and doubts. Klara continued to care for David, providing him with the necessary help and support in his difficult situation. They spent time together, sharing their thoughts and feelings. Mutual trust between them began to gradually strengthen, and Klara gradually overcame her internal barriers. However, she still hesitated and was not ready to fully open her heart to David. She found it difficult to make a decision about how far she was willing to let him into her life, especially considering her past and her fears. Despite her fears, Klara and David grew very close during their communication and interaction. They discovered a special connection and understanding between them, which helped them overcome obstacles and doubts. After David recovered, they decided to start a life together and move in together. For Klara and David, this was a new stage in their relationship, full of hope and optimism. They were confident in their feelings and ready to move forward together, determined to overcome all difficulties together. Their life together was filled with joy and happiness of new discoveries. They enjoyed moments spent together and rejoiced in every new day spent beside each other. Sometime after starting their life together, they had a son who became another source of joy and happiness for this wonderful family. The birth of their son became a symbol of their love and a promise of an even brighter and happier future together. At the moment when Klara and David experienced the highest happiness after the birth of their son, life suddenly threw them a new challenge. Klara was diagnosed with cancer, which shook her entire life. It was a heavy blow that ruthless reality dealt, leaving a new pain and fear in the family's heart. For Klara, it was a shock, but she was determined to fight the disease for herself, her family, and especially for her son. She faced the same fears she had felt before when she lost her parents, but now she had even more at stake. She couldn't afford to break down, knowing that the fate of her family and her little son depended on her. For David, it was a difficult period, but he was determined to support and help his wife in her battle with the disease. He became her rock and support, despite his own fears and worries. The family found themselves on the brink of an abyss again, but now they were together and could overcome many difficulties. Together they moved forward, coping with the illness and hoping for the best. Klara's health deteriorated, and David couldn't psychologically withstand it all, so he left for another city, leaving a note saying, "Forgive me for everything." Weakened by the battle with cancer, Klara found herself alone with the illness and her fears. She felt that with each passing day, her strength was diminishing, and hopes for recovery were becoming dimmer. David's departure was a heavy blow to her, one she hadn't expected. She felt abandoned and defenseless, deprived of the support she so desperately needed during this difficult period. The note he left felt like a knife in her back, leaving her in a state of shock and despair. For Klara, this was an incredibly tough ordeal. She felt betrayed, abandoned, and lonely. But even in the darkest moments of her life, she didn't lose hope and the strength to fight. After months of tough struggle and resilience, Klara began to gradually recover. Her willpower and optimism helped her overcome the most challenging moments. The restoration of her health was a slow but steady process that required perseverance and determination. She actively participated in rehabilitation programs, monitored her health, and strictly followed all medical recommendations. The support of friends and loved ones became invaluable to her during this difficult period. However, in her heart, the pain and disappointment from David's departure lingered for a long time. But she decided not to dwell on the past and focus on the future. Every day she strengthened her resolve, striving for full recovery and new horizons in life. After fully recovering and returning to normal life, Klara received no news about David. Her sad premonitions were confirmed when she heard rumors about his suicide. This sudden loss caused her deep sorrow and pain. She experienced moments of doubt and guilt, wondering if she could have changed anything in their relationship, if she could have helped him overcome his difficulties. But most importantly, she felt the sadness of losing someone who was so important to her. Despite the heavy ordeal, Klara found the strength to move forward. She knew that David would have wanted her to continue living and enjoying life. Her inner strength and desire to live helped her overcome this tragic moment and strive for new horizons filled with hope and possibilities. Klara's story reminds us that life is full of unpredictable twists and trials. She lost her parents at a young age, battled cancer, experienced difficult relationships, and suffered the unexpected loss of a loved one. Despite all the hardships, she found the strength to fight and move forward. This story teaches us to cherish every moment of life, despite its unpredictability. It reminds us of the importance of love, family, and friendship in our lives, as well as the significance of support and understanding in difficult times. Klara faced many challenges, but she never lost hope and was able to find meaning and strength to keep going. Her story is a story of struggle, willpower, and faith in a brighter future even in the darkest moments.